Uniquely.
Uniquely. Uniquely.
Uniquely.
Uniquely.
Uniquely.
Uniquely.
Uniquely.
Uniquely.
Issaquah.
Hi, welcome to another podcast of Uniquely Issaquah. I'm Mary Lee Pauly, the mayor of the city of Issaquah, and today my guest is Mohamed Belali, and we're going to talk a little bit about our recent trip to one of our sister cities, Chefchaouen, Morocco. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
Today, we're going to talk about a couple of different aspects on sister city relationships. We just completed a visit, so we're going to talk a little bit about our sister city relationships. We also visited a country that just suffered one of the largest natural disasters in 100 years for them. So there'll be a bunch of different topics that we're going to bring up today and talk about. But I wanted to start maybe with the history of why Chefchaouen, how did it become our sister city?
Wow, it's taken me back a while, but in a nutshell, after or during the Second Iraq War, there was a lot of negative information on both sides, on the U.S. sides and on the Moroccan and Arab side in general. The TVs on the Arab side, the Muslim side would show Americans with guns pointing them at kids and women and so on. And here we would get a lot of stereotypes and so on. For kids like my daughter, Iman, who was at the time 13, was a little confused with all. She sees a community that is peaceful, that is loving. I'm talking about Issaquah. She goes to Morocco to travel with us, and she sees kind people, welcoming people. But what she hears, the noise is completely different. So she did not feel good about herself, kind of, where do I sit? Do I have to pick sides and so on? So she came to me and said, Dad, I don't like this. What should I do? And I said, you can speak really about what your life is, what your friends are, what your family abroad looks like, how kind people are everywhere, and there are bad apples everywhere as well. So she decided at that time to take $5,000 out of her college fund and decided to make a trip to visit a school in Chefchaouen and donate a bunch. I think it was 100 backpacks full of school supplies, and in exchange for an opportunity to talk to the kids about her life in the U.S. and how much she loves Morocco, how much she loves her life here. So it was touching. And at that time, the mayor of Chefchaouen was Mayor Alami. He heard her and he invited us all to dinner and said, hey, this is a very good start. And I would love for this peaceful message to get out to a lot more people at different levels. And he offered the idea of a sister city at that time. And that's where we started. We came back, my daughter naive, thinking, oh, I'm just going to go talk to my mayor here and everything is going to happen. Well, I got a little bit of an education from then Mayor Eva Freisinger, and she got to speak in front of the city council. Wow. And that was the beginning of the Sister City Commission, and that's where it all started. Lots of visits from both sides, art exchanges, musicians on both sides come in, student exchanges, and so on. So that's the history.
I love that story, Mohamed. It is so heartwarming. Tell us a little bit about your family. You are a local family, and your daughter now is a little older. I believe all this started in 2007.
It did. I've been in Issaquah since '98. Actually, unincorporated King County, but I have an Issaquah address.
Southern Issaquah, we call it.
Southern Issaquah, since '98. I was busy already working at that time, focused on career and so on. I spent most of my time in the Northwest working for Microsoft in high tech, and really just going through the motions of life, busy with kids and so on. My kids grow up here, they love it here, and they really feel this is their home. And not only the home they live in, but the community they live in. All of their friends are here. I know now they are young women, but then it was their home, their community, their friends, and so on.
That is great. They are young women now. That's a long time ago, 2007, but just the inspiration coming from youth has just been a real fabulous story to hear from you and to tell to the community. Just a little bit more about those early visits. I know you did go on some, but they really kind of captured the essence of what we would love a sister city relationship to be. A youth-to-youth exchange, a person-to-person exchange, artist to artist, and then government to government. Tell us a little bit about your earlier visits to Chefchaouen.
Yeah, I'd say I was lucky enough that Chefchaouen itself is a birth town for my mother and my grandfather and so many family members. So we have lots of roots, a lot of connections there. So when the opportunity came to start a sister city relationship, we had a lot of elements there. One of them is trust and respect, that there was no hidden agenda. This is an American-born young lady that has love for both sides and wanting to do good for both sides. So the element of trust was already there, and the idea that is starting with students or kids her age was great. Then we formalized thing where we started talking about art from here, art from there, artists exchanges. We started talking about sharing best practices on how the city is managed. We are almost the same population. Same they are Chefchaouen is very interested in climate and sustainability and so on, and so is Issaquah. So there was a lots of stuff that really made this a relationship that just fits. It
fits really well. Why a trip now in 2023? Why did we feel like it was a great time to go back and visit Chefchaouen?
Well, I think in the background of 3 years of so much unknown with COVID, nobody could travel, nobody could go out, and so on. There was a freeze on a lot of things. So sister city activities weren't something that could be done. Of course, we've had a lot of exchanges, and now that COVID is over, and that you, Mayor, you haven't been there.
Not.
So it was time. Yeah. It was time to rekindle that relationship and have you see for yourself what this relationship is about. And I'm grateful you've made the trip.
Yeah, it's an amazing experience, and we'll talk a bit about that later too, about why everyone should go and visit Morocco and Chefchaouen. It was fantastic. I love the history here of, starting with the youth, multiple visits, artist exchanges, all the way up to the current one that we did right now. Trips like this, country to country across an ocean, are very difficult to organize. You were instrumental in helping my team organize with our Sister Cities Commission all the ins and outs of this trip. What was that like? It looked daunting to me.
You are so kind. I think most of the credit really goes to the Sister Cities Commission that I was part of for many years, and so I had a lot of background. But really, the true credit goes to your Chief of Staff, Tina Eggers, who really had a template for us where we needed just that human contact to get things done. Of course, it's not easy. We were a small delegation, but everybody was paying their way to get there, and that is a complexity of itself when you're trying to arrange things. Are we all gonna agree on where we're gonna stay this day, and how much we're gonna pay, and where we're gonna eat, and so on. But it turned out that everyone, including you and Carl, are very well traveled. Robin and Tina have already been to Morocco multiple times, and John and Tracy, it was their first time in Morocco, but they are very savvy travelers. So that itself made it easy. And I want it for selfish reason, not to do the trip as going to hotels and showing you what you already know. So I was a little hesitant. How is it going to go if we go to traditional riads, meaning living in a home the way traditional Moroccans lived their life? And but I was pleasantly surprised that everyone enjoyed. I hope it was the case.
Gosh. I think that was one of the highlights. It did not feel like a tour. It felt like we were welcomed into people's homes, that we got to hear stories and have conversations and interactions that were very one-on-one. It was lovely. I mean, I think that is one of the things that made it so special. And I know planning all of that was complicated. I was overwhelmed when I first saw the draft of what we were going to do. I'm like, there is no way we can move around like we wanted to and touch base with all the different people in the communities. But yeah, the team was astounding. It worked really well. And, you know, just thinking about how complicated it was, literally 36 hours before we're going to leave, a devastating once-in-a-100-year earthquake strikes the country. What was going through your mind on the Friday night before we left on Sunday? What was going through your mind about now what?
Yeah, that was a scary moment for me personally, because I have family and friends there. And at that time, the dust hadn't settled. My phone was just chiming from messages from so many people, including my family. And honestly, the first thing is I forgot about the trip itself. I just wanted to call everyone, make sure that everybody is safe. Once we've done that, by the time I hang up, I already get a phone call from Tina asking me, did you know? And of course, I said, yes, I do know. And she said, hey, we're here to listen to what should be done. It was late in the evening. The next phone call I made was to Mayor Safiani. I think it was his midnight or so, but he did answer, and he said the same thing that my family said. We don't know anything yet. All we know is this is a bad one, and that we need time. He did suggest that we do not cancel the trip, but he couldn't guarantee that we could get to anywhere near the Marrakesh area. Right. A lot of, emergency vehicle, the military was heading there to start the help, and he asked me to wait until morning where he can have a conversation with other government officials to see what can be done. In the morning, we had another call, and which
this would be Saturday before the trip.
That's right before the trip, and we weren't at that time we're still not sure. I talked to him and he said, you guys should come. It's a great show of support, knowing that this catastrophe happened and that you are still committed to come in. And I was honestly so impressed because your reaction was similar without knowing what Mayor Safiani's answer. Your answer was, we should still go, and instead of having this visit focused on just the sister city relationship and the rekindling of that relationship with an MOU signing and so on, that we will also focus on learning, listening, and see how we can help. That message was the same from both sides, from your side and from Mayor Safiani's side. And while we did not know that we could get to Marrakesh or any areas beyond Marrakesh, we made a decision that we will go, or you made the decision that we should still go. Yeah,
very, very awkward and troubling time. You know that the country that you want to meet up with and talk about these really fantastic relationships is just suffering. It was really hard to think about. I just, don't want to go and be in the way. Don't want to take the focus off of anything. But the mayor's, invitation and really assurance was, if you hadn't had these relationships, it would have been hard to make the decision. So definitely the right decision to go. Definitely changed the focus of the trip quite a bit, but it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, and it really shows courage that we were hearing about these aftershocks and everybody was still committed to saying, yes, we're going to Morocco still.
Right.
Most people would say no.
Yes, and we can talk about that later as well, but we did see that a lot of people canceled for not having enough information to understand whether or not they should go. Your connections with the mayor were super helpful for us. So I did receive a lot of phone calls and texts and emails in that 36 hours leading up to the trip. Is this a go or no go? Should you go? What's going on in the country? And we made the decision to go. I think it was, with the information we had, it was the right decision at the time. It turns out it was an excellent decision to go. We learned a lot about what was going on in the country by being there, but I'm not sure our community fully understands the devastation that was caused by the earthquake, where it happened, the impact on those that live in that community. I wonder if you could share some of the information that you've gotten about the earthquake.
Yeah, it was definitely a devastating earthquake, and it couldn't have happened to the people that were impacted were really already having a hard time in normal winters without an earthquake. They would be cut off with the snow. This is in a high Atlas mountain. So I've got some information to share with everyone. So it happened in the House, Taroudant, and Chefchaouen regions. Of course, on September 8, around 11 p.m. or so, the death toll is now at 2,946, and the injureds are at 5,600. Lots of homes destroyed, 20,000 homes completely destroyed, and another 40,000 or so partially destroyed. There are 163 municipalities in the regions we've talked about that were affected, and that's about 33% of the municipalities in the region. So it's a lot. We call them douars in Morocco. A douar is not a village, but a very tiny village. It's a community that is very remote and hard to access it and so on. So people live in these remote areas, and they're very tiny, small communities called douars, and they're about almost 3,000 of them have been affected. and the population that is indirectly affected is about 2.8 million. Wow. Those are people that have not been affected directly by the earthquake, but because of the damage and the access and so on, are now displaced from their homes and so on. So it's a lot. It's really a lot.
Huge,
Thankfully, the government and the support from within and abroad has been really great. It's going to take a lot. The initial focus was on rebuilding and helping people right away with medical supplies, finding people and caring for the injured, and temporary housing. And there is a plan over 4 years, from 2024 to 2028, to completely invest and rebuild in the area in ways that Morocco has never been able to do for that area. So while this is terrible, it is an opportunity to hit the reset button and give a new life with schools, with hospitals, with roads. Over 400 miles of new roads are going to be built and so on.
And that is a challenge that we heard about as we were driving through different parts of Morocco on roads, we could see some small villages like you've described here. But in the Atlas Mountains, the road access was cut off. Yes. So this rescue and response is mostly done through airlifts and helicopters, which really adds to the challenges.
Yeah, I mean, even in a regular winter, you would have to drop medication to people and so on. There's a lot of snow in the high Atlas.
So many individuals and countries and NGOs jumped in to help in the aftermath of the earthquake. And we were fortunate enough to hear, the night before we were leaving for Morocco, actually, I heard about a former Issaquah resident who was over there, had been over there for at least 9 years, helping with non-governmental organizations or NGOs to provide education for women and training for women in a bunch of different venues. There were 2 childhood best friends we met, Courtney and Nicole, who grew up down in the Issaquah Hobart Road area and went to the Issaquah School District schools. They're over there currently working on 2 different projects, and we were fortunate enough through a couple of texts to be able to grab them for about 45 minutes and have them over to the Riad, the bed and breakfast that we were staying at, and share in their real moment of action. You know, they had to switch gears, and they were not doing the original work they thought. They were actually part of the response. And I thought that was really amazing. And maybe we can take a moment to see a short interview that we did with them while we're staying in Marrakesh.
It was amazing to see you organize all that on the fly and making it happen the same evening.
It was. They had a small window, and we met that window. Just inspirational, though, to see that there were fellow Issaquahans over there doing the work at this time that assistance and aid was really needed.
Yeah, Courtney lives just about a mile north of where I live, on the same street.
It was so fun before we did the video just to talk about where we're all from. And yeah, they were both grinning ear to ear about how, you know, proximate we all were to each other. This is really quite amazing. So we'll take a second and we'll play the short video.
Awesome.
Hi everyone, Mary Pauly, Mayor of the City of Issaquah. I have been with a group of Issaquah residents on a sister city visit to Morocco. One day after the catastrophic earthquake, we revisited whether or not this would be a time that we should come to Morocco. And we were overwhelmingly told it is absolutely the right time to come. So with our official business done, we are now in Marrakesh, and I have the amazing honor of meeting 2 residents from Issaquah who are here for some very special reasons. I'd like to introduce to you Courtney and Nicole. And Courtney and Nicole, could you tell us, how did you end up in Morocco? What is it that you're doing here? Courtney.
So I actually have lived here now for 9 years. I love this country, and I am here because I've wanted to do work between my beloved in the United States, in my hometown in Issaquah, and here in Morocco. Now, why I am here right now in Marrakesh is because my childhood friend that I've known since second grade, she and I lead a retreat for critical care nurses. And we are here with a group of nurses. We didn't know if we were going to come because of the earthquake, but we heard from the Moroccan community that please come. And so we came.
And here we are. So, yeah, so this is actually my third time I'm doing a nurses retreat in Morocco. I have a business called Unwind Retreats where I offer events and resources and retreats for nurses. And as you know, it's been a pretty difficult time for us. But I'm just so grateful to be able to be here with Courtney, again, childhood friend. And, you know, we really wrestled with whether or not it was the right time to come. And overwhelmingly, again, we were told that we should arrive here and just help out. So it's been an amazing opportunity to build relationships and just have nurses get to be able to see this part of the world from their hearts.
So Courtney and I have been WhatsApping back and forth to try and figure out if we could actually make this happen because they're working. They're actually doing amazing things here. But I want to ask both Courtney and Nicole, you're here, you're on the ground, you're meeting with nonprofits. Issaquah community members are continually calling and texting and emailing me about exactly what can we do to help. And I'd love to give you guys both an opportunity to answer that question.
So I would say that there are probably two main ways. Like in the moment right now, there are a number of local organizations that are doing relief, local Moroccan organizations. They have the connections in the villages that are most impacted. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to send our beautiful mayor a list of these organizations that you can trust and that you can know that if you give any donations, financial or in kind, it's going to reach the communities and the families that don't have homes anymore. I'm going to do that. The other thing that I would say is outside of this moment of crisis is please come to Morocco. Come to this country. It is one of the most beautiful and hospitable countries ever, and you will be welcomed. And I promise you that any ideas you have about Africa, the Middle East, you'll come here, and as Nicole said, your heart's going to be opened up. So I welcome you to contact me directly, contact Nicole, but come.
Oh, Courtney, that's beautiful. I don't think I can really say anything else, honestly, but the reason why I come here and encourage people to come here is because the culture, the language, the people, I mean, it's amazing. Like, you won't have another experience like it, and Morocco will keep drawing you back. So again, I just echo what Courtney said. Please come. Don't cancel your reservations. Please come. They would love for you to be here.
And
in solidarity.
And just as a final note, I cannot tell you how proud I am as mayor to come around the world and to be in a country in need and to have our community members here doing what they do. Oh, you're amazing.
Oh, thank you for being here.
It's so
beautiful.
So Mohamed, it is so inspiring to see the actions of people when they're responding to a disaster. And we know that the number of individuals in need, the amount of work to get done is daunting. Do you have any idea right now in terms of how much funding the Moroccan government has received in order to start the rebuilding?
Yeah, there are numbers of how much money has been raised, and there is government money that is going towards the rebuilding and taking care of people while in this transition. So I think as of yesterday,
it's pretty current.
As of yesterday, the government started giving money to everyone who was directly affected by the earthquake. Not a lot of money, but I think is enough for these villagers, about $250 or so per month, and it's going to go on. There's a fund for that's going to go on for a while, and so that people can cope with life without being able to work, without being able to do a lot of stuff. there was a lot of money raised. I think it's about $600 million. The king himself put $100 million of his own money. Banks have donated over $100 million. OCP, that is the largest minerals company, the phosphate, donated about that much as well, and a lot of companies. And in fact, every public worker, every W-2 worker is donating money over 4 months to help rebuild. So this is an effort by the entire population to help. Plus, the government is putting a lot of money for rebuilding. I think the whole project over 4 years, there's about $2 billion for the whole thing, and lots of it is going to reactionary mode, and lots of it is, the majority of it is going towards rebuilding. Yeah,
that generosity level is just astounding. So appreciative to all of those that are donating to this and helping to plan, like you said, for this opportunity to build back better. It's really heartwarming.
Yeah, I think with the chaos, everybody jumped in and wanted to help. But because of the location of the earthquake, it's very hard. You get one truck that flips and then nobody can get. These roads are very narrow, very windy. So the government decided on putting a staging area where people can bring in their stuff and leave it there, and have the military and authorized non-profit to go there so that they don't create a chaos and end up helping nobody. So this relationship between Issaquah and Chefchaouen, that's where it can come to play, where if we are successful at gathering goods for the winter, then Mayor Safiani will partner with authorized organization to make sure that what we send gets into the hands of the people that need it in a timely manner.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. We are going to be starting a project to collect winter supplies, and we will put information out to our community because we know we have a very generous community. And I appreciate the benefit of the sister city relationship is having a mayor on one side of the ocean being able to organize transport, and then having it received on the other side by a mayor who's able to get it up to where it's needed. So that, a lot of information to share about the earthquake, but I think that is sort of representative of the trip that we had. That event, we were there during the days of mourning, and that event really was the focus of a lot of our conversations. We did also have some working meetings with Mayor Safiani, talking about what I would call traditional sister city items. We got to meet twice and share information about what our community priorities are, and to my delight, I discovered Mayor Safiani is an engineer like myself, that the community is interested in climate activism and climate resiliency. And I was just kind of overwhelmed by the similarities. A town of 40,000 located in the hills. You were gracious enough to offer your skills as a translator for me, since I don't speak Moroccan. What was that like for you in those business meetings?
Some of it was funny, some of it was challenging, but I did discover that I am much better at translating, hearing Arabic and translating it to English than the other way around. And I found out that I am amazing at translating English to English.
Yeah, that was like the
I
highlight
remember
for me.
when Mayor Safiani was speaking in English for about 2 minutes, and then he paused, and I started translating back to you.
I wish we had video of that. It was fantastic. I kind of felt bad for you because I'm in an official role. I have work to do. I felt like you had to work harder than anyone else in the room. Some things that I learned is that when you're using a translator, how about you just say one sentence at a time? I think sometimes I left you with a paragraph floating in air that you had to.
Yeah, and to be honest, a lot of the terms in Arabic for sustainability, climate, and so on, when I hear them in Arabic, I understand what they mean, but having to come up with them, it's tougher than I thought.
I learned my lesson at our second meeting. I had the opportunity there to share about the Snoqualmie tribe's ancestral lands movement. It's the first time that that lands movement information has been shared in an international forum. That was extremely proud for me to be able to do that on behalf of the Snoqualmie tribe. And I was better that day. I think I gave you a sentence at a time, and so it feels like it flowed a little bit better, but it is difficult to not be able to express a longer thought. That was definitely tough.
I think you were very kind, saying translate the intent if you can't come up with a direct translation. And everybody was, I think a lot of Mayor Safi and his team understand better than they can talk. Just similar problem I have.
I got that sense as well. And also for me, my husband and I both grew up in Canada, and we have a little bit of French. And so hearing, the Moroccan spoken in that area is a combination of Arabic and French. It felt like we could pick up the gist sometimes of what was happening. But I think the hardest thing for me, or the most amusing thing, I guess, was I would put a few sentences out there on a fairly serious topic, and your translation would be about 4 words long, and they would all laugh, and it was like, I don't know how to say what she just said. And I thought, this is perfect. I mean, this is that was the fun part of the engagement with the team over there.
And I was sweating.
I really do think you got the harder role, I'll be honest. So I have spoken to a lot of constituents who've been asking me how we can help. And so I know that there are many, many different ways for individuals to provide assistance. I wondered if you could go over some of those. And then let's talk a little bit about this project that you and I are hoping to get going with the help of the Moroccan American Association.
Yeah, I want to... I know you've heard from a lot of people, including the Moroccan community.
Yes.
I know you got a phone call from Neza Benjdia, who is the president of WAMA, the Washington Moroccans Association. I know you met Samia and her husband, who are very closely working with, and I think Samia was on the board of directors of MAPS in Redmond.
And I met them in where?
In Fez.
A market in Fez.
That's right. I know my daughters have been hounding me to do something, and a lot of others. My dear friend and partner in the Badisi Safrawi Foundation, we've shipped thousands of computers to Morocco and Africa, and I think everybody wants to help out and make an impact, and I think you can amplify our voices.
Absolutely. I'm very excited about that. Any discussions we can have in the upcoming days and weeks to turn that fantastic idea into a project on the ground would be wonderful. I also have to express my appreciation to you and the entire delegation for, creating this opportunity for me to go over as a mayor, see the beautiful city of Chefchaouen, which looks exactly like its pictures. I don't even think the pictures do it justice. But to meet with Mayor Safiani and his team, and city to city, be able to walk away with, a potential climate action resiliency project that we may jointly create, to talk about the fact that we may have 2 artists coming again to Salmon Days in 2024 from Morocco, and to talk about how we as a sister city community can support during a natural disaster. It was just an absolutely wonderful interaction with them.
Yeah, and I think when this relationship started, we did not have nearly the tools or the ease of use of the tools that we have now. And to see you and Mayor Safiani focus on things that can be done on an ongoing basis through Zoom or other methods where we can do work without having to wait a year for a delegation to come and so on. Those are great and they are important, but a lot of work can be done to share best practices, knowledge, and so on between the two cities.
I know, I was practically jumping out of my chair when he's talking about having our teams meet on Zoom, and here's what we're going to talk about, and we're going to compare our climate action plans, and we're going to come up with a joint project, and we'll see if we can get funding, and maybe we could talk about it at the UN climate resiliency. I mean, he's a pretty exciting mayor.
He's a very passionate man, very charismatic, and so you are.
Well, I found out from the Snoqualmie tribe today that they also have somebody who is sitting on one of those boards up at the UN participating in these kinds of talks, and I'm just learning from you after having been in Morocco and watching you connect us with your family, with your friends, with your business connections, with artisans, that these kinds of connections exist. You just got to go find them.
Yeah, I failed to mention that in every city we've been to, we managed to find, talk, or get the help of somebody who either is connected with the Issaquah Chefchaouen sister city or has already been to Issaquah. It's fascinating, even for me, to see, are these all coincidences or the world just happened to come together?
I think it's intentional. I think when the desire is there to partner and form the sister city relationship and invest in it, it's magical what happens. You know, these connections, these tiny ones are happening, and we get to find out about it because we're over there and we're engaging with the community. It was just wonderful.
Can I share a little anecdote?
Yes, you can.
So I really, really enjoyed seeing everybody that heard that the delegation includes a mayor from the United States coming to visit their town, whether it was Chefchaouen or Fez or Marrakesh. In Fez, they pride themselves on selling you more than you want to buy. And I was watching this guy trying to sell you stuff, and the moment I mentioned that you are our mayor, he switched attitude completely, saying to his team, no, we have to give her something that we would be proud of giving. Yeah. And all he wanted is a picture with you and the fact that you actually made it to his city in a time where nobody is coming to Morocco.
I know. And let's talk about that a little bit, because while we can share information about organizations that people can contribute to, there's a very much similar story to what's happening in Hawaii, and that is that when you have an economy that is really reliant on visitors and tourism, a natural disaster like this sends out a message of don't come now. And we have heard from the governor of Hawaii, Maui needs people to come now. And I think we witnessed sort of that pulling back from Morocco when we were there in terms of hotels that weren't full, beaches that weren't full. So talk a little bit about that and, you know, getting people to visit Morocco.
Yeah, I think our decision to go, especially of going even to Marrakesh and witnessing for yourself buildings that have been destroyed and seeing how the earthquake has impacted every place we went to was almost empty in Marrakesh is telling. And the fact that we were there, in fact, next week, the same message you gave of let's go and let's support the local economy and let's see for ourselves what the Marrakesh is like after the earthquake. The same message has been now amplified by the government. In fact, next week, the IMF World Bank has the annual meeting in Marrakesh. They did it on purpose for the same reasons to kickstart the economy in Marrakesh. Yeah, we need people to go. We need people to support all these people. I mean, it's not like you get a paycheck when there is no work. Right. And it's even worse for people that have lost their homes or been displaced from their homes because their homes are not safe to be in. And so no work, no home. It's tough without work. So it's a good thing to go and really contribute.
Yeah, that was definitely obviously when they're there, and just a plug for the country of Morocco is such a beautiful and welcoming place to visit. I'm typically not the kind of mayor who goes around introducing myself as mayor, so they don't know who I am a lot of the time, and I was treated with such generosity, such kindness. I will say I was overfed a little bit. Some of the tradition. That's
Morocco for you.
The multi-course meal was a bit hard for me to get used to, especially when it's multi-courses of dessert as well. But it was just heartwarming. It is a fabulous country to visit. It is beautiful. The people are lovely. And the welcome in Chefchaouen is just so genuine. It was beautiful. Is there any other memories you have of the trip you'd like to share?
No, I'm proud of the trip overall. I am proud that you got to witness what this relationship is about. I am proud that I have been on on a trip with every mayor of Issaquah since Eva Freisinger was mayor, and with Fred Butler, and now with you. I wasn't going to miss it for anything. I wanted to make sure that I go with you as well, right, and see you do your magic as well.
I'm so grateful. I have my to-do list with Mayor Safi. He's a mayor that wants to get things done, and so it was a very fruitful visit in that sense. Really hoping that one of the other items that we talked about, which was engagement of youth. And we have a work item looking to see if we can connect our youth in our youth advisory board with the youth council that they have in Chefchaouen. So again, just another way of building that people-to-people diplomacy. So thank you, Mohamed.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
That's it for today for Uniquely Issaquah. So grateful to have Mohamed here today to talk about the Sister City visit to Morocco. Thanks a lot.